Welcome to Love Yourself, the podcast where we break down the reasons why you aren't losing weight and help you discover confidence, self-worth, and resilience all along the way. Weight loss isn't a knowledge problem, it's a thinking problem, and I'm here to show you how to lose weight with your brain, not another diet plan. So as you listen, notice what resonates with you. And if something clicks or you want to go deeper, I would love for you to book a call with me right after the episode. Okay, so words matter, but what do you think of the difference between self-care versus self-love? My name is Dara Thomason, and this is episode 261 with the Love Yourself Thin podcast. And today we're going to talk about self-care versus self-love and what really actually needs to happen in order for you to truly change from the inside out. So I want to hear from you. What has been your experience with taking care of yourself? And I'm curious about what were the rules that you heard as a kid? It's selfish to take care of yourself. It's selfish to boast. It's selfish to think about yourself. We need to think about others before we take care of ourselves. Like what was all that noise about, or those rules that you noticed? Now, I want you to switch gears. What was considered me time or taking care of there's retail therapy or going to get your nails done or something like that. And this is something I've noticed in the different generations where what does actually taking care of yourself look like? So going and helping someone move, is that considered taking care of yourself? Going for a run, is that considered taking care of yourself? Going to get your nails done, making freezer meals. All of these things can be either being selfish that doesn't actually serve you versus intentional love for yourself. And today I really want to hone in on your unique report card of what actually creates the life that you want and how are you going to get it. So for example, today on my group coaching call, I asked them, do you even know what success would look like for weight loss? And I gave this example of a six-pack. Okay. So I help people lose weight with their brain, right? How to focus on that. But I don't have a six-pack. And I'm okay with that. I don't need a six-pack for me to be a weight loss coach. And then in the group, I kind of joked and I said, how did you hire me as a weight loss coach if I wasn't showing you my abs? And we all kind of laughed and it was kind of funny. But the truth is, there are people out there in the world that think in order for you to be a weight loss coach, you need to have a six-pack, you need to count calories, you need to know your macros and micros, you need to do all those specific things. That is not me. And when I made the decision to lose weight for good, I vowed that I was not going to count calories and track steps. I wasn't going to weigh food and I wasn't going to do any of those things because that makes me crazy. It also triggers me and it also is not something that I'm going to commit to forever. I just won't do it. Okay. So I had to figure out what was at the root of my weight loss struggles, and I had to resolve those emotional problems. And that's what I do now for people. I help them with that. So when you think about creating a life that feels amazing and awesome, thinking that in order for me to be good enough, I need to have beautifully manicured nails, or even thinking the way that I feel better about myself is to go and spend $70 to get my nails done. That's what's going to make me feel better? I don't think so. Okay? Because that's not my values. That is not who I am. So I'm just going to give this as an example, and I'm not doing this to toot my own horn or anything, but the kind of person that I am, I like to serve other people. I like to help other people. So there's a woman that has a family and she has cancer right now and things are not good. And so this morning, I was able to go to her home and bring some freezer meals that I made. And on the way to her home, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning after dropping my boys. I had, and I believe it was the spirit, I'm a very Christian person, was like, go and buy some crusty bread. And when I was there, it's like, and buy some plants. And that wasn't, it's not a lot of money, but it's something that feels so wonderful. Like that filled my bucket so much that I knew that I was able to do something like that for her. And I have no idea why I had the thought to buy the crusty bread and a few other things. But that fills my bucket. That is me saying, this is the kind of person that I want to be. I never want to be so busy that I'm not going to make food for other people who are in need. Now, self-care, some people would say, well, what is that about? That's intentionally loving myself. That's intentionally feeding the personality, the kind of person I want to be. When I'm with my kids in the car, I'm intentionally asking them questions. I'm engaging with them. They're not on their phones. We're together. That to me is intentional self-care. That is actually filling my bucket of the kind of person, how I want to show up in the world. When I go for a run, for example, or I lift weights, or I have those conversations with my husband, or whatever that is, I go to bed a little bit earlier. Those are all ways that help me be in alignment with who I want to be. Okay. But what this requires is for you to be the master of your own life. You're the one who creates your criteria. Recently, I met with a coach. She was helping me work on some of my own, we all have our own obstacles. In order for us to grow, we need to work through some of the obstacles so that we can keep progressing. And we were talking about the rules that I had as a little kid on how do I get approval from my parents. And it was really interesting to look at my parents had a report card that I imagined in my head that I had to go through in order to be loved by them. So whether that's true or not, whether that conditional love from my parents is true or not, that was my reality as this little girl. I thought I have to have my room cleaned. I have to help my mom with the different things in the house. I have to take care of my brothers. They can never be crazy. They can never do anything wrong. I have to take responsibility for all of this. And if I don't take responsibility and if I don't do all those things, then I am a failure. And I'm not worthy to be loved. Okay? Because this is my little 7-year-old coping strategies. And until I go back and look at that whole story, I'm not going to be able to change. And I'm not going to give myself permission to be who I want to be. So I'm not allowed to quilt, or I'm not allowed to do something that I want to do until I have all these jobs, right? Because I internalized all of that. So the reason I'm sharing this example is that if you are not living the life that you want to live and things feel messy, guess what starts happening? And this is a wild ride for us, is that when things aren't going well and we're not feeling good about ourselves, we will go to a default setting. So your default setting would be something like, well, the reason I'm not happy is because I am overweight. So now your brain fixates on your weight. And then as a distraction, it will do all this research and everything on all these different weight loss programs. Or some people, it's, well, I'm not happy because I never got a ribbon in a quilt show. So then your brain all goes crazy about, well, I need to make this certain quilt and then I got to do that. And then I can't quilt it as nicely. So then I have to get the money and I have to hire someone, like one of those famous people, to quilt it. And then I can get that ribbon. And then once I have that ribbon, then I can feel better. Or I can't be happy unless I have this kind of house or this kind of car, or my house doesn't look like a show home. And then I'll never be able to have that because we don't have enough money. And then my life is over. So what do? I scroll. I don't take care of me. I eat for the pleasure. I'm going to tell a little story. This story actually has impacted me so much. So we lived in this cute little town, and it was called High River. I loved it. And my friend, we were like besties. And I was 7, 8, and 9 when we lived there. And so her dad he had been a missionary for our church, volunteer for 2 years in France. And her dad, he would talk, and my dad also was a missionary in France. And so there was that in common, but he would talk about how he just longed to go back to France and take his wife. And I think he was a plumber, and they had lots of kids. And so, when you're a parent, it's hard to, it's lots of responsibilities, and it feels like, oh, it's just like a dream. So, but he was determined. So he would save a little bit of money over the years and years and years. And so I'd see him, and then I was a missionary in France, and so we had that connection. And he's like, "Yep, I'm still saving." And then one day, I didn't see him very often, but one day he bought a camper trailer. And I didn't, I mean, I don't care. Like, he's his own man. But this is what happened. He got so discouraged that he would never have enough money to go on this trip that he had dreamed about for like 25, 30 years. And he just gave up on the dream, and he just bought this little camper trailer. He said, I guess that's just good enough. And why am I telling you this story? It impacted me so profoundly because I think that so many of us do that to ourselves, where we give up on the body that we want. We give up. When I think about the kind of grandma I want to be, I need to be able to lift weights now. I'm 52. I ran 18 kilometers last Saturday. My daughter-in-law, I said, just got married, and so it's really exciting to have a daughter-in-law, and she wants me to do this half marathon with her. And I thought, isn't that so sweet that my daughter-in-law wants to spend that time with me? So I'm going to do what I can do to go and prepare myself so I can run that with her. We can have that experience together. And so I'm putting myself out there. It's uncomfortable, and I'm doing it. I'm not going to settle. And Dan Sullivan says, what you want matters because you matter. And even in my business, I have such big dreams for this beautiful, incredible program. I haven't reached some of my goals. For sure I haven't. But I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to give up. And I want you to have that same attitude for you. But this is the difference. I'm not doing it out of scarcity. I'm not doing it of, I better run that half marathon or else she'll never love me and we'll never have a relationship. And then everything will be horrible. And then when they get kids, and then she'll be like, oh, I'm not going to trust Dara to babysit the kids because she didn't run that half marathon with me. Right? Because a lot of people feel that way, right? Out of scarcity. If I don't do, I'm doing it out of abundance. I'm doing it. Oh, isn't that awesome? And if I said, no, I don't have time to do the training, I don't want to hurt myself, she would totally understand. I say, I'll be there and I'll cheer you on, and I'll even, but I'm not making those decisions out of, I need to prove myself. I need to be better. I'm doing that because I'm looking at past Dara, current Dara, and future Dara. And so every time I lift weights, or every time I go running, or every time I say no to the cupcake, and say yes to the other things, I'm saying I'm doing this for future me so that I can have the life I want in the future. So current me is taking care of that life that I want. And so when you think about self-care versus self-love, what does self-love look like? So today, our hot tub broke. So I called the hot tub guys and said, hey, can you guys come? Because one of the things that I love to do is going in the hot tub with my kids. So that is a way to take care of me and to take care of the relationships. I buy my groceries and plan ahead so that I can take care of me and my kids in a way that doesn't feel scrambled or difficult or hard. So my question is, how often have you used difficult, hard, stress, scarcity, all those kinds of thinking to operate in your life? And what results is it getting? When you think about eating, if you eat a bunch of candy and garbage, you're going to feel like garbage. If you eat a lot of really good, wholesome food, you're going to feel so much better. If you get really good sleep, you're going to feel better. If you have healthy relationships, like you're not scrolling so much, you're going to feel better. That's true self-love. That's true self-care, not this superficial me time. This is that filling the bucket, right? That intentional love for yourself. I'm intentionally eating this celery. I'm intentionally planning ahead of time. I'm intentionally making this freezy meal because this is who I want to be. I'm creating the version of me that feels amazing, and I'm not going to give up on my dream. So quite often when I see little trailers, I think, oh, that's so sad. He never did go to Paris. He never did take his wife to France all those years. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to live my life that way. And I don't want you to either. And I do not want you to give up on yourself. And I can promise you, you have to let go of that scarcity, of that not enough. And you have to embrace that the more I love myself, the more I nurture myself, the more that I care for myself, the more success I'm going to have. I promise you that's how it works. It's the opposite of what we're taught in the diet industry, of willpower, negative self-talk, and self-criticism. To whip yourself into shape, it's not going to work. It doesn't work long-term. It's not permanent, and it feels terrible. So we have to do it. We have to do the emotional work to change this negative habit. And the more that you can do that, and this is the kind of support that happens inside my program 3 times a week. These are the tools that you learn to help your brain. It is the best investment you'll ever make. I promise you. I can't wait to see you there. As you're leaving this episode, I want you to take a moment and notice what stood out for you. What did you learn about yourself? What felt true? And where are you ready to start thinking differently? Remember, this work isn't about doing more. It's about understanding how your brain is working right now and learning how to shift it in a way that's always going to support you. And you don't have to do that alone. If you're ready to stop second-guessing yourself, stop feeling stuck, and start creating real momentum in your life, I would love to help you. You can book a call with me and we'll look at what's really going on for you and what your next step can be. I'll talk to you. I can't wait to talk to you.